Welcome to the second ever edition of the Fish and Great Pod. April 28th, Thursday night edition here for you. Fish, it's been a while, but it's been a great week, hasn't it?
It has been a while. Like you said, great week. NFL round one of the draft tonight.
Nothing but positive feedback from our viewers that have viewed it. Thank you to all of our supporters out there.
We're hoping to grow.
Yes, we are. But Fish, let's see the rundown for today.
So today, like I just said, NFL round one of the draft was tonight. We'll be talking about that primarily.
An absolute wild
night
one. In the draft.
Then we'll touch a little bit on the NBA playoffs, maybe give some of our predictions. Then we're going to have a new segment, Connor's Grades of the Week, where I'm going to be talking about some of the previous happenings in this week of sports, and he's going to give me his grades. And then we'll have Tom's 2 cents. We're going to talk with Tom a little bit more. And then some pretty breaking news today. Iowa State's going to be a night game for football this year. We'll give our thoughts on that along with their other night games that they have. And then, of course, we'll wrap it up with Fact or Fiction with me again.
Which is always exciting. But first, of course, Thursday night, first round of the NFL draft. If you didn't witness it, honestly, it was absolute insane. It was pretty wild. Of course, starting off, the LA Rams taking Jared Goff, as expected, number one. And Carson Wentz going number 2 to the Eagles. But after that, it really shook up, didn't it?
It was just crazy event after crazy event. Of course, if the listeners didn't see, Laremy Tunsil
is a name that you'll probably be hearing within the next few days. This man, a few months ago,
number one pick. People were saying Tennessee would have taken him number one.
Was projected to be the number 1 overall pick, of course, a few months ago, but 13 minutes before the draft, at 6:47, from his Twitter account, there was a video posted from his account of him, was what appeared to be him.
To be him.
Which we all can assume it was him, because he took off his mask and started talking. He had a mask on which was attached to a bong of some sort. He was smoking some substance, we will say.
We are
not sure what the substance was.
We'll just say some substance, yeah.
Some substance, and it was tweeted, and it got to everybody. It was literally viral. Everybody saw it. Team owners, coaches, everybody saw it.
Mm-hmm. And from there, the slide started.
The best night of his life turned to an absolute nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But next, with the third pick, though, the Chargers were up. They weren't thinking really offensive tackle. We weren't sure what they were really going to go for. We didn't think they were going to go running back. We didn't know what they were going to do. They decided to pick that D-end from Ohio State.
The Ohio State.
Joey Bosa. D-end. People loving this pick. Me, personally, I absolutely adore it. I think this guy is going to be an absolute stud. He reminds me a lot of J.J. Watt, reigning 2-time Defensive Player of the Year for the Texans. Really reminds me a lot of him. I mean, this man's a run stopper.
Pass rusher. He's
got the moves that can do it. He's got the body to do it,
He's got the motor.
I think it's a great pick by the Chargers. And then you got the Cowboys. Jerry Jones wanting to make a splash, as always, vocal leader. As Fish would want it to happen. Jalen Ramsey,
DB, Florida State.
Florida State was probably the next best prospect on the board. I'm not going to say probably, and he was the next best prospect. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys decided to go another Ohio State Buckeye, Ezekiel Elliott, the running back. Now, Fish has his concerns on this.
Now to me, I was pretty upset about this pick because I figured if the Chargers didn't take Bosa, I thought I wouldn't be disappointed if the Cowboys took Joey Bosa. But just from where the NFL is moving to, where people are spreading it out and passing, you have to have a pass rusher. We saw that last year. The Broncos had success. They had the best pass rush in the last 20 years, and they just dominated in the playoffs. But then to go along with that, you need some sort of a hybrid player, just athletes all over the field, and that's exactly what Jalen Ramsey was. Good size, good athlete, and they ended up picking a running back, which just left me scratching my head.
Ezekiel Elliott, let me get this straight. I mean, yes, Jalen Ramsey, great player, but I do not mind this pick by the Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott, an absolute excellent running back. I mean, we all remember what he did in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama, one of the nation's best defense. He ran for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we all remember him gliding down the sideline, hurdling a player on his way to a 60-yard score. Now, this kid, I think, is going to have a fine NFL career for the Cowboys. They got to get a little bit better on the offensive line, but he can catch balls out of the backfield. He can hit his gaps. He's fast. I think he's going to be doing just fine for the Cowboys. I mean, Jerry Jones wants flashy players, and I think he got one. Agreed? At least you agree with that?
I'll give you these a flashy player,
Yes.
but then there was also a stat about running backs being taken in the top
of
5.
course, yeah.
It said the last 6 running backs taken in the top 5 have combined for 1 Pro Bowl, and I think most of the there's only a few first-round running backs that were starters for teams last year. So I mean, I just don't think
They must have seen something in this kid. He played in the Big Ten, ground and pound, tough D, and he did just fine. So I guess we'll just have to see.
We'll see how it plays out.
Which led the Jaguars left a blessing. They picked up Jalen Ramsey.
Kind of fell to them. Fell in
Yes,
their
he
lap.
kind of fell to them. And then this is where it gets shaky.
Mm-hmm.
We go all the way down to 8. The Titans
Had the number 1 pick.
Yes, they dropped down and they trade to
Traded.
the Browns.
Mhm.
Now, you're thinking, okay, when they had the number 1 pick, they were going to take Tunzel.
Tunzel. Mm-hmm.
They end up taking Jack Conklin out of Michigan State, an offensive
tackle. Same position as Laramie Tunzel.
Nothing. They decided to go with Conklin, more safe pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes up to my Bears. They trade up from the Buccaneers and they pick up Leonard Floyd from Georgia, linebacker.
Good
extreme athlete. Extreme
Mhm,
athlete
good
would make me happy.
size.
And which gets me excited because we haven't drafted a defensive player in the top 10 since 2000, which we all remember that bald man, number 54, future
Mr.
Hall of
Urlacher.
Famer,
Mhm.
Mr. Brian Urlacher. So we're
Mhm.
hoping for some similar results. And then we get down to the Ravens, which the Ravens actually picked 6th. They picked 6th.
Little out of order.
A little bit
there,
out of
but
order, but they also took an offensive tackle. And
Wasn't Tunzel?
Wasn't Tunzel.
Wasn't Tunzel the top? They had him as the top-rated tackle.
Yes. They took another tackle from Notre Dame, Ronnie Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
2 teams avoiding this man because of what happened. Possibly, you can only assume what happened
Mm-hmm.
with the Twitter video. If you haven't seen it, look it up on Twitter. I'm sure you'll find it.
And just to give you an idea of how big of a screw up that Laramie Tunzel made, his fall potentially has cost him, they're saying, up to $13 million. And just to give you kind of an idea, he could have gone 6 to Baltimore, which is probably where he would have gone if obviously that video hadn't surfaced. And he ended up going 13, and the difference between the number 6 pick and the number 13 pick was $7.3 million in their contract. So,
And if it weren't for that video, would you say 7.3 million?
7.3 million.
7.3 million. If it weren't from that video, the Ravens did put out a statement saying once they saw that video,
They
they
took him off the
completely
board.
took him off the
Mhm.
board. They didn't want to mess with it. They didn't want to risk it. They went with a safe pick who Ronnie Stanley is just still a great offensive
I
tackle.
think he was a number 2 tackle,
Yeah,
so
so
it's still getting a great player.
And they just didn't want to risk it. Laramie Tunsil falls all the way down to 13. Dolphins trade up and they decide to pick him up. You know, I mean, they think, enough's enough. He's a good player. He's first team All SEC. The SEC is the best conference in the country, as we know. First team. This kid, we're going to mature him a little bit. We're going to take some of the heat that came along with this guy, and we're going to try and make him into a great player, which I think he will be a good player. He's got to mature, of course. He's got to mature. But you can't forget about his talent. The talent that he has. Okay? Agree?
I think it was a big risk taking him, but I think the Dolphins had the view, if no one's going to take him, we might as well take him.
Yes.
Offensive line wasn't too much of a need for him, but
they could. Danny Cannell put it out. It's a risk and reward. High risk, but it's a high reward. They could be making the best decision of their life right now. They could be getting a multi-time Pro Bowler here, or they'd be getting a bust. You never know. It could be either or. Hopefully, we hope for the best for the kid. Obviously, we hope that he does.
Well, I think the talent-wise, he'll be fine. It's just it's just the behavior, and if he can play, he's going to be an All-Pro. But if these problems keep happening and he can't stay on the field,
this kid had a huge wake-up call tonight. He, after he was drafted, he was getting hammered by questions by the media. They were asking him, and also another thing that happened on his Instagram account. I don't know if you saw this. There were texts with his coach, Hugh Freeze, supposedly saying
that he needs
money for his mom, or he needs money being billed. Yeah, he took money or whatever. What I don't understand is who is out to get him like this, and that's gonna be the question for a few weeks. Who's gonna be out? Who was out to get him like this? Who was him to just bury him like they did?
Well, I think
because we know he didn't put that stuff out there.
When I look at it, I just see people hating athletes' success and people's success.
Yeah,
someone could have been mad that he was going to be making millions of dollars.
People always hate on the success of others.
That want successful people to fail. But we spent enough time talking about Laremy Tunsil. Let's go
to our likes. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a couple of picks that you liked?
I love Joey Bosa. I love this Joey Bosa pick. I thought it was a great pick. I thought he was the best player available at number 3. He is deservedly so. He dominated college football. He was the consistent All-American twice. He earned Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. He was also a 2-time Big Ten Lineman of the Year. So I mean, this kid can fly. He can flat out fly. He's fast. I mean, he's big. He's got the moves to do it. I mean, I think he is the next J.J. Watt. Maybe not as skilled as Watt, or not. He's not as big, obviously, because J.J. Watt's just a monster. But I think he is similar to J.J. Watt. I like 2 receivers that I think are going to make a huge impact. Laquan Treadwell,
Minnesota,
who went to Minnesota, who they're getting an absolute great player. I mean, this kid was highly recruited, part of Tunsil's class at Ole Miss. Highly recruited. He goes number 23 to the Vikings. This kid was an absolute monster as a freshman.
Great size.
Yes, great size. He broke his leg. That's the only downfall. He broke his leg, which is I think if he wouldn't have broke his leg, he would have been a top 10 receiver. Almost like an Amari Cooper like. But he broke his leg. That's the only downside to it. But he's got tremendous size, ball skills. I mean, I think he's going to be an absolute stud. And then the other receiver, Josh Doctson, who went right before him. The Redskins traded up to get him. So they went 22-23. These 2 receivers are going to be absolute monsters. Doctson from TCU. The last position player to go from TCU in the first round.
LT.
Yeah, David Tomlinson. Very good.
And we all remember what kind of a career he had.
Yes. Doctson had over 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns for TCU. Treadwell had just over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. But Minnesota is getting a player that they much needed. The Vikings only had 6 receiving touchdowns last year.
By the receivers,
which was the fewest in the NFL. So Treadwell's going to help out with that. And the Redskins, you already know, you got Deshaun Jackson. So, I mean, he's going to be helping out with them. So hopefully I can give Kirk Cousins a little extra guy. But I love Treadwell, Doctson, I love Bosa. Those are my three guys that are just absolute studs right there. Give me the first round. So you got anybody in mind that you like, or
Well, I
you hear
had
some
I
dislikes
got
maybe?
I got some likes that I'll touch on first, and my first my first two it isn't so much the pick, but it's what the teams did,
Okay,
and that would have been Tennessee, who traded
their first round
who
pick
traded the first overall pick,
to almost get the same exact person
and
they needed.
they wanted to get they went into it thinking they're gonna get Laramie Tunzel, the best offensive tackle, and obviously, like we said, he started to fall. So they trade back and they traded with the Rams and got a whole stockpile of picks,
Mm-hmm.
and then they ended up trading back up to draft Jack Conklin, like we said. And from them trading the first overall pick, they got
gained all those picks.
Jack Conklin, 2 second-round picks, next year's Rams, first and third rounders.
Oh yes.
And the Rams, that first-round pick's probably going to be a good one. And I think right there, that's how you start to rebuild the team. You got to acquire picks. You're not really going to get one player to turn around most of the time. And Cleveland Browns, the other pick that I like, they pretty much did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up taking Corey Coleman. A lot of people were comparing him to Antonio Brown. Really quick, good athlete.
Small, quick,
mm-hmm.
and yep.
And so through their trades, they got Corey Coleman, a third rounder, 2 fourth rounders, a 2017 first rounder, and a 2018 second rounder from the Eagles. And they still have 11 picks upcoming in the draft still.
So yeah, so two teams that traded the 1 and 2 picks to pretty much get almost exactly what they wanted, plus way more. Because me and you both thought, I know, that the Rams and the Eagles both gave up a little too much for 2 players, Goff and Wentz, that we're not sure are worth that much. But the winners, surprisingly, the Browns. They
haven't heard
Cleveland,
that much.
Cleveland, congrats! You know you won a little bit here. We'll see how things plan out with Coleman. But yes, it was a good draft for them. But we'll go through some. Is there anybody? Some dislikes.
Some dislikes. Well, and it's funny because my dislikes are the teams that traded with the Browns and the Titans.
Yeah, so
and that'd be the Rams, and the Eagles.
So this was the 7th time QBs have been drafted 1-2. Of course, last year Winston, Mariota. I mean, they did okay their first year. You can't expect a huge leap.
I was fine
with those
because the teams didn't trade up. Because we've seen before.
They gave up a lot. Yeah,
we've seen before. I think most notably, what comes to my mind is Washington trading up for RG3, and you can't give away. You can't give away all these
almost
picks.
A future. Yeah, almost is what it is.
You're
putting a lot on these players.
The farm.
A lot of pressure on this kid. A lot of pressure,
and you're not going to be able to surround him with other assets because you're handing those away to get this guy.
So those are your dislikes.
So those are my dislikes that just right off the bat that I thought were not really good moves at all.
Okay, well, one thing that kind of stood out to me was the Green Bay Packers at 27. You need to attack the D line and the linebacker position, which I figured. B.J. Raji's taking a year off, but you got Mike Daniels there, a D tackle. He's there to fill. And the players I was looking at when they were drafted, they had Miles Jack, who honestly I think,
although
he's got to get surgery, yes, I think he can be very good. And then you have Reggie Ragland from Alabama, who honestly I trust.
I thought that's who they were.
I also thought I trust anybody from Alabama. Nick Saban build them up, but instead they took Kenny Clark, another D tackle from UCLA, a bigger guy. He kind of almost reminds you of B.J. Raji. I'm not saying it's a bad. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad pick. But I just feel like there were better opportunities for them at 27, for them to pick up somebody maybe a little bit better. I mean, maybe take a little risk, but maybe have a high reward.
Although he's a UCLA guy, right?
Yes, UCLA.
I saw that the Packers in the last 7 drafts have taken 5 UCLA guys, so I don't know if that was any connection. But of course, Miles Jack was from UCLA, although like we kind of touched on, he has to have microfracture surgery on his knee. He just tore his ACL, so health is a concern. So it'll be interesting to see how far Miles Jack ends up sliding in the upcoming rounds.
Yes. And honestly, if I were the Bears, I don't know if they really need. They already picked up a linebacker, but I'd look at this kid is so versatile.
Mhm.
I mean, he's a good player. But if I may add one more thing,
Mhm.
I'm going to say something right now. One thing to look out for next year, the Houston Texans. Brock Osweiler from Broncos, you picked him up. Free agent Lamar Miller coming over. You already got DeAndre Hopkins, an outside receiver threat. And then you pick up Will Fuller from Notre Dame, the receiver.
Mhm.
Fast. You play in the slot. You pick him up from 21. So those are 4 excellent players to have on your offense. And then you already know you got Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt on the defensive end. Watch out for the Texans next year. They already made the playoffs.
Weak division.
Yeah, they already made the playoffs last year. Just keep your eye on them. A lot of young, good talent.
See how it develops. So we'll be back after a short little break on the Fish and Grade pod. We'll be talking NFL playoffs. So keep it right here, and we'll be right back.
And welcome back to the Fish and Grade pod. Fish, got one question for you. Name one word to describe this year's NBA playoffs.
Injuries.
Injuries, really?
It's got to be injuries.
Okay, so why do you say injuries?
Well, obviously, Steph Curry had a couple injuries. Twisted his ankle.
We touched on it. Yeah, we touched on that.
And then he ended up hurting his knee. We touched on
it last show.
And you look at the Clippers. While we were actually filming the last pod,
yes, we said the Clippers had a chance,
and we really jinxed them. You look, CP3 broken hand.
Oh, that's
probably done for the rest of the playoffs.
That is such a killer.
Blake Griffin reactivated the hamstring. Probably done for the rest of the playoffs.
That is such a killer. I mean, just thinking. I mean, we were talking about literally last show. We were like, okay, the Clippers can give the Warriors a run here. I mean, if Steph's not playing like he usually is, we said you got Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. You got a loaded team.
They'd have an advantage at the point guard spot.
Right as we ended the show last week, they get hurt. I'm
not saying within minutes of us ending the show, they both go down.
I'm not saying we are to blame, but if they're looking to put in a public statement out to blame,
we'll shoulder the blame for them.
Yes, we will.
We'll say we jinxed them.
Yes.
And then I guess also
you got the Celtics.
With injuries, you got the Celtics, Avery Bradley. Tonight, of course.
They went down.
They went down.
They actually got smoked at home, which was actually kind of surprising.
They lost in Game 6 to the Hawks. And if you look at it, he was pretty much their key to what they were doing. Athletic defender, also good on the offensive end. If you look at, I guess a comparable player that they have would be Marcus Smart.
Yeah, Marcus Smart.
Good defender, but he was the worst shooter in the NBA this year. I think he shot like 28%. Marcus Smart.
Was he really?
He was the worst shooter in the NBA this year. He shot like 28% from 3, shot 40% from the floor. Great defender. They needed something out of him offensively this series. They got it one game in Game 5 and they ended up winning, but
without him, it seemed like they really started to struggle. I mean, they took a few. Yeah,
they don't have a superstar, and he's I guess if you want to say Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, they have a lot of role players. And he was one of those key role players that fell, and it really showed tonight when they really struggled at home, and the Hawks ended up taking the series. So the Hawks are going to be playing the Cavs.
Rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, you still got Toronto and the Pacers playing on the other side, and then you got
Charlotte, Miami.
And Charlotte, Miami still playing.
And Clippers in Portland.
So it's Clippers in Portland. So we're hoping that at least one of those games go into a Game 7. Make it interesting a little bit.
If I had to guess, I could see Toronto, Indiana definitely going to 7 games.
I think Charlotte takes care of it at home. The way they looked last game at Miami.
And that's interesting because Miami was so dominant the first 2 games, and now it's been 3 games now.
Yes.
I mean,
Charlotte's won.
Different team.
Yeah, Charlotte's won 3 straight.
Team.
Miami seems they're just struggling to get on the same page. Man, gosh, I don't know. I mean, Miami just, I don't know if I trust them. And plus, it's at Charlotte.
And
Yeah, MJ there. You're not gonna lose in front of MJ. Try not to at least. With that game going to Game 7, I don't see it happening. Who do you like in Game 6, Charlotte or Miami?
well, based on how they're playing, it's in Charlotte. Charlotte was something like 31-11 at home this year.
Yeah, incredible.
I think 30
Incredible
and 11 at home. Really, really dominant at home. So I'm taking Charlotte, and to me, that's disappointing because looking at the start of the playoffs, you look at Miami's roster.
Some people were picking them to go to the East Finals and play LeBron.
They could match up with the Cavs, and something's happened this last week where they're not clicking, and it's really disappointing to see. Obviously, Bosch is out, but
you got Cardiac Kemba on the other end. You got Jeremy Lin doing the MJ shrug after banking in a three, which I thought was pretty
Courtney
cool.
Lee,
Courtney Lee hitting the three,
Got Big Al Jefferson, Frank the Tank Kaminsky.
So, who knows? I mean, who knows? Maybe they can get to the East Finals, and maybe they can give Miami a run. Maybe. You gotta get past.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. But now on the other side, you got West. You still got
the
Portland.
Portland.
Yeah.
Portland won by 10 or 12 points last night.
Now they're going
Now
they're going back to Portland. Now they're going back to Portland up 3-2. Clippers winning.
I don't give the Clippers a chance at all.
Yeah.
Portland, Rip City is going to be rocking.
Yeah.
Because going into the start of the year, obviously they lost LaMarcus Aldridge.
But I think,
Nicholas Batum.
I think what you're going to say.
People were saying that they weren't even going to make the playoffs. They ended up making the playoffs, and now they could advance. Obviously, there was some injuries, but Portland is going to be pumped up for this game.
Yes, and if I might say something, I don't think there's a better 1-2 punch right now at the guard position than Lillard and McCollum. They were playing
with Curry out, I assume.
Yes.
Okay, left in the playoffs.
Yes, right now in the playoffs.
1-2 punch from
the way
guards.
The way them two are playing. Lillard's supposed to be the dominant player. McCollum was most improved player of the year.
Went from 6 points to 20 points.
He had 27 last game, and Lillard had 23. He's outscoring Lillard, and they're just connecting on all cylinders. But yeah, that's what we got for the NBA. Hopefully, honestly, I don't know if these playoffs have really been that entertaining so far.
Well, there's
the first round.
There's been some blowouts. I guess the injuries have kind of made it a downer.
Yes,
but there's time for some change. So now we're gonna get into Connor's grades of the week. So starting off, how about you give us some of your A grades for this week?
So, Connor's grades of the week, a little new segment we have here on the Fish and Grade Pod. I'm going to be giving everybody whatever grade they deserve, A, B, C, D, F, just like in school. But starting off with A, I think the Spurs and the Cavs deserve an A. They win with ease in their respective games, 4-0 sweeps over their opponents. Do you think that's an A is definitely what they deserve.
I think it was key. I think both of the series were really key for them. The Spurs, obviously, you hear about them being old with Parker, Duncan, Ginobili. So I think the extra rest was good for them.
The Grizzlies aren't that bad. I didn't think they were that bad.
I think the Grizzlies, for what they were playing with, I think they played something like 28 players that Memphis played with this year. That was like an NBA record. So Memphis competed, pushed the Spurs, but dominated them, or got dominated. And then obviously Detroit, they played, aside from really one game, a really competitive series with Cleveland, and I think that's kind of what Cleveland needed.
They get tested a little bit. LeBron was getting his, of course, getting kind of warmed up into this. K Love had a game where he broke out, so it's good to see all of them breaking out a little bit. But
so I think both those teams really deserving an A.
Now my B grade really is a B+, and it really should be an A. The only reason it's a B because I thought the Spurs and Cavs deserved the A. B+ goes to the Chicago Cubs. They're playing absolute magnificent right now. They're just connecting on all cylinders.
Best record in baseball,
in baseball. Of course, you have Schwarber getting hurt, getting out for the year, but you have people to replace him.
16-5.
16-5. Leading the NL.
The Chicago Cubs are 16-5.
This is
Best
one of their
record in
best
baseball.
starts in history. It has to be
I think it
Lead-
might have been
leading the MLB.
best.
Just getting runs, got Arrieta throwing no hitters left and right. He'll probably throw 4 more with the pace that he's on this year. But they're definitely looking really good right now. My C grade goes to the NCAA. They started off by banning satellite camps on recruiting, which for people that don't know, Fish, you want to tell them a
So
little bit
what
about that?
satellite camps are is it's a really helpful way for some, I guess, really northern colleges to
Yeah.
kind of get recruits at camps.
In Walmart,
Harbaugh at Michigan was really big. He had some camps down in Florida, and it's because just a lot of the top prospects are down in the South,
yes,
and
of
so by the NCAA banning these camps, that just gave the SEC and really the Big 12
over
just
Big 10.
a huge
Yes,
advantage
yes.
over the Big 10, the northern like ACC schools, and so
So they get a C for banning it, and then, they're okay, we're gonna unban it. So you look weak. The NCAA honestly has so many ridiculous rules against athletes, and
you look at
so many
you
disadvantages.
look at Drew Ott.
Yes,
A couple
Drew
weeks
Ott.
ago, he ended up not being able to participate in the NFL Combine because he was waiting to see if he could get a medical red shirt, and
The
they
NCAA
took months longer than they
should
needed
have,
to.
yes.
So
Everybody
NCAA
here,
really just not
kinda-
good looks
kinda
for him
screwed
right
him
now.
over, yeah.
Mhm.
So they get a C. A D goes to all you hockey fans. The Anaheim Ducks. Now, in the playoffs, the Anaheim Ducks are usually competitive in the playoffs. They're usually in there. The last 3 years, they have been up in their respective round, up 3-2. They've been up 3-2, and they have lost the series every
year.
single time. The last 3 years. That means they lost a home game, and then they lost a game 7, or lost a away game, then lost a game 7 at home.
Heartbreak City.
That has to
straight
be
years.
the worst way you can go out.
Mhm.
And if you're an Anaheim fan, I feel for you because that's honestly heartbreaking.
Mhm.
That's kind of like choking it down the. That's just being up 3-2, and you think you have it won, and then you lose the series the last 3 years. And then my final grade, an F.
This one's a
It breaks
difficult
my-
one for you, isn't it?
It breaks my heart. Goes out to the Atlanta Braves. The worst record in baseball, and it's not even close. It's about 2 games. They are 5-17.
They had something like a 15-game home run drought.
Yes, and at home they haven't hit a home run at home in 15 games.
Their home record is 1-12. When you have
It's absolutely
when you have
heartbreaking.
1 win and 12 losses at home, you know it's not going.
It's a rebuilding year,
Mm-hmm.
but this is pathetic.
It's
Atlanta,
it's really
I
disappointing.
am calling you out. You gotta get your stuff together.
Mhm.
Nice word choice, but that is my grades for the week. I thought it went pretty well.
So
we're
it's a
gonna-
new segment.
Yeah,
we'll
new
have
segment.
it.
Hopefully,
We'll
you guys
probably
enjoyed
have it every on our Thursday or Friday pod,
Yes.
so that we can get some stories to talk about over the week. That'll be a new segment.
And when we come back, we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna have our talks with Tom.
And Tom's gonna give us his 2 cents.
Or
on
his 2
what he
cents. The
thinks.
lad Tom's gonna come in. We're gonna talk about Iowa football schedule, about the night games, and Fish is gonna play fact or fiction.
So we'll be right back on the Fishing Grade Pod.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me and I walk alone. I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams.
And welcome back to the Fishing Grade Pod. With us in studio today is Tom Crum.
Tom, it's an honor to have you, as always.
Honor to be in studio this time.
Tom, what we got on tap for today?
Well, today we're looking past the NFL draft, the big stories in the NFL draft. We're looking past the NBA playoffs,
Here
and
we
we're
go.
going with the MLB.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Kind of the overlooked story of the MLB. Kind of almost a Cinderella story. Don't want to make too much of it this
No,
early.
Not yet.
But the Phillies
The Phil.
sitting at 12-10.
Oh, here we go.
Just swept the Nationals, I
Just
think.
swept the Nats. Bryce Harper and his Nats. Projected to be dead last in the MLB this year. Dead last in the MLB last year.
No.
And, this is just something for the people of Philadelphia
You got the 76ers.
to hang on. Just wait.
Well, I mean, if you look at Philadelphia, not very good.
The
sport
city of
outlet
Phila- the
now.
city of
Philadelphia
Philadelphia.
needs this.
Mm.
The
Who
city
knows
of,
how long it'll last?
yes, the city of Philadelphia needs something for their sports teams. You got the 76ers.
I think
We all
something
know
like
the
9 wins this year.
We all know the
Yes.
laughing stock that
Yes.
Philadelphia sports has really been putting
Mhm.
out. The Eagles
The
were
Eagles
a joke
fell
with
apart.
Chip
Who knows
Kelly.
what they were doing? But
Mhm.
another thing the Phillies, people of Philadelphia can look forward to, Carson Wentz.
Okay, yes.
Who
Maybe a
knows?
little
That might have
bright
been
spot.
too much, but just
Well,
something
yeah.
you can look forward to this summer because you don't know how long this Phillies thing is going to
Tom,
last.
something off a little bit of topic, a little bit.
Okay.
Here's a question for you. Who would you rather be a fan of in town or in a city? Philadelphia or Cleveland? Because you know
Well,
what, honestly? That's
The
tough.
Sixers and the Browns
The Sixers-
just compete with each other
No.
year in and year out to see who can be the worst in America.
You got the Tribe with Cleveland
Oh.
Indians. You got the Phillies. I mean, both teams,
Uh-huh.
not what you want. You got the Cleveland's got the Cavs.
Got the Cavs, LeBron.
That's that might be the one thing Cleveland has. But who would you rather cheer for, Cleveland or Philadelphia?
Right now, I'd have to pick Cleveland
Mhm.
Yeah, you'd have to
Easy.
because you got a playoff.
because you got the
team.
Cavs.
you got a playoff team.
Guaranteed finals appearance almost. But back to Philly. Those people just been through a rough time. The Flyers ousted early by the Caps in the playoffs. You got the Eagles. Who knows what they were doing last year
No.
with all those moves. The Sixers are just the Sixers.
Yes.
Who knows when they'll turn it around, if they will.
Never.
Give the city of Philadelphia something,
And the
please.
Phillies are that early. Phillies
Yeah,
are
But
that early.
Tom, can I ask you this though?
Go for it.
What are the Phillies gaining by winning games right now? I mean, they're just hurting. They're hurting their draft position. I mean, are they expecting to make the playoffs?
No,
if they
they're not
win,
expecting
if
it.
they win 70, if they win 70 or 75 games, they might get like the number 4 pick instead of the
Well,
number
Fish,
1
well,
pick.
Fish,
So,
they're not-
what-
they're
so
not
what-
gonna-
so what's winning helping
Well,
them?
Fish, they're not going to try and
This is
lose.
more for the
They're not gonna
people
go-
of
the people
Philadelphia.
there.
Well,
the
I'm
people on the
not-
team competing aren't going to try and lose.
Well, I'm not saying that, I know, but is this because everyone gets hot in baseball? I think we can all agree on that. People
Yes.
go through slumps. Is this hot start?
I'm not saying we should.
Is it
take-
beneficial for them?
I'm not saying
I'd
this
say
isn't.
it's
This probably
beneficial.
isn't gonna last. But
I'd say it's beneficial. It's good for the players to get confidence up. And honestly, the MLB draft, do you know how many draft picks there are? There are like 700 something draft picks. Draft picks honestly aren't that big of a deal.
But what I'm saying is the people of Philadelphia. This is just a little
Give them
shining
something.
moment.
Give them something to hold on to for the baseball season as long
I'm
as
not
they
saying
can.
it's gonna last, but
Yeah.
they need this. It's gonna be a long summer for the people of Philadelphia.
We'll move
Flyers
on.
were
yeah.
out early.
We'll move on a little bit though. Tom, I know you're a huge Iowa football fan, as we all are. Just released this past week. We got a couple night games this year, just like last year. We got Cyhawk Trophy, Cyhawk
Stadium.
game, huge rivalry, historic Kinnick Stadium.
When was
The
the last
Iowa-
time it was Cyhawk Trophy night game?
I honestly do not remember.
I can't
and
remember.
I bet the people at the game don't remember it either. I bet
Probably
they
not.
don't remember it either. Iowa State, a night game. We also welcome Jim Harbaugh in his khaki pants and his satellite camps into Kinnick Stadium.
That could be a huge game.
Honestly, we could be looking at undefeated
Mhm.
teams.
Game day, maybe.
Both,
Maybe
you might, yes. I
maybe a
agree.
Big Ten championship preview.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
maybe.
Both could be
Mhm.
undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Two huge games. And then you got Happy Valley. I will
White
be there.
out.
We
It'll
remember
be a
what
white
happened
out.
last time.
Adrian
Night game,
Claiborne,
Happy
block
Valley.
punt.
Night
White
game,
out.
another
Uh-huh.
night game. So 3 night games this year for the Hawks. Gives the fans something to look forward to here as we're in spring, just had spring ball, we're looking forward
Give
to
them a
football
taste
season.
for football season.
I already cannot wait. But
No,
Tom,
it's hopefully another big year for the Hawks.
which honestly I do not see why not. Why not? I could see us going back to Indy, which I hope we do because that was an experience. to
Hopefully
have.
back to Indy.
Hopefully even more. Hope we're
Maybe.
not as disappointed as last time. But Tom,
Maybe.
thank you so much for coming on the
It's a
show.
pleasure, boys.
We got you
Mhm.
here. Thank you. I'll shake your hand.
Fish.
Coming up next.
I'll be back next week.
Coming up next from the Fish and Grape
Oh,
Pod, We're going to be live from the fish tank playing Fact or Fiction with Mr. Austin Fisher. Stay with us. It's the Graydon Fish Pod.
Hate won't get you eyes this. Levitate, 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 levitate. Love won't get you eyes this. Drugs won't get you eyes this. Fame won't get you eyes this. Chains won't get you eyes this. Juice won't get you eyes this. Levitate, 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 levitate. Life won't get you high like this here. No, he won't get you high like this here. No, she won't get you high like this here.
And welcome back to the Fish and Grade Pod. To close it out here, we're going to go live from the fish tank with our very own Austin Fisher to play a little Fact or Fiction. Fish?
Lay it on me. What do you got for me?
Yeah, you did pretty good last time.
Thought so.
Here we go. Fact or Fiction? Laramie Tunzel is going to have a successful career in the NFL.
Well, when I look at it, I think obviously physically, his size, his athleticism, his natural ability, that checks all the boxes. So if he can play, I think he'll be successful. Although what we saw tonight and previously with Ole Miss, he was suspended for receiving improper benefits at the start of the year. And if we look at some other players, you got Josh Gordon being suspended. You look at Johnny Manziel not playing in the league, not even on a team right now with some behavioral issues.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can stay out of trouble,
So you think, yeah.
he's going to have a successful career just because he's,
So you think Fact.
I'll say fact on that one.
Really is a shame to see some of these people with all the talent in the world have the world in front of them, and they just mess it up just because of the way they act in some ways. But
Although he's still on a team.
he's still on a
gonna be
team.
playing,
We'll see how it all plays
hopefully.
out. We
So-
can't. We'll see how it goes. Second question. The second overall pick, Carson Wentz by the Philadelphia Eagles, will have a more successful career than the first overall pick, Jared Goff. Fact or Fiction?
And I'm going to go fact on this one also. And when I look at it, I see Carson Wentz just a bigger player physically. He's a little more mobile. He'll probably be able to take a little bit more of a pounding just because of his size. And then I look at the systems that they played with in college. I think Jared Goff, I saw, and I read this earlier this week, and this is very interesting to me. He took one snap under center in college. So I think that'll be
depending on what the Eagles run. Yeah.
The
that'll be-
Rams.
or the Rams.
But I just think it's such a big adjustment going from a spread air raid system in college. It might be his rookie year, a little bit of adjustment, but really if we're talking a overall career, I still like Carson Wentz, just better size, so I'll say fact on that one.
Very good. And that is where I completely disagree with you. If I must put in myself, I think Jared Goff is going to have a fine career. I like his stature. I like his arm strength. I like his accuracy. I like the way he plays the game. I think Jared Goff is going to have a more successful career. But it's not my game, so you know what? I'll just move on to the next question. Last question for the Fact or Fiction segment. The Chicago Cubs will make it to this year's World Series. Fact or Fiction?
See, that's a good one because I'm obviously a Cardinals fan and was
Let's
very
hear what you have to
disappointed.
say, though. An honest opinion.
In my honest opinion, I'm still gonna say fiction.
Okay.
I think maybe they're a year away. Obviously, last year they were viewed as a year ahead of schedule.
Yes, they were.
Where
Yeah, nobody
people
really
thought
expected
people
them
thought
to-
they were gonna take a year to develop some of their younger
Nobody
talent, and
expected them
that
to
was
do that.
obviously quicker. No one really expected it, and obviously they've got off to a hot start. But it's just so hard to win in the postseason in baseball, especially. And I think it's like the last 5 teams that finished with the best record didn't win the World Series. Obviously, we asked reaching the World Series, but I just think they're a year away.
Yep.
You still got some good teams. The Nationals are starting strong.
Yeah,
The Cardinals are always there. So I think they're a year away. So I'll say fiction on that one.
Okay, so it kind of brings me to my next question. Who's in their way? Because honestly, I think they are, on paper, the best team lineup.
Well, yeah, I would say on paper they're the best team.
Who do you think would beat them?
You got the Nationals, the Cardinals, who last year when they played them were really beat up. The Pirates, you got the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks got better. So there's a lot of good teams in the National League, and like I said before, baseball, you see teams, the Cardinals won the 2006 World Series, and they won 82 games that year.
Yeah.
So I think baseball, it's all about if a team would get hot, they could knock them off. So I think to say that one team is going to make it to the World Series, it's just kind of hard to do, so that's why I said fiction on that.
That's good. Well, that's about all the time we got here on the Fishing Grade Pod. Thank you so much for listening. Let's try and get as many subscribers as we can.
If you like it, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with people you know. If you like the pod,
let's try and get this thing growing.
Let's get this thing growing. Good things are gonna happen. Good things are gonna come. And as always, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Fishing Grade Pod.
Right in the sternum this time, T baby. Shit, you already know. You already know. You already know.